With thousands of espresso tools out there, how do you even choose? I wasted hundreds of dollars on the wrong espresso tools or ones that were badly designed. We'll cover what's essential, skip, or optional, as well as what to consider when getting certain tools. This is gonna be part 1 of 2 of all of the espresso tools that you need for puck prep. This is a guide, so take what you will from it. And if you have certain favorite or tips, please chime in the comments. All of the products I'll be talking about will be listed in the description. Some of them have full reviews, a lot of them have discount codes. Some items were provided to me for past testing and review, but this video is not sponsored. I've been wanting to make a revised and updated version of my espresso tool roundups. Don't be afraid to buy and then upgrade and sell. In my experience, it's easy to resell your old coffee gear. If you're new here, I'm Jess from Gadgets Gear Coffee, where I do in-depth and real-world reviews of tech, cycling, coffee, and the gear that connects them. Like and subscribe and you might discover some really cool new stuff. Let's start with the coffee scale. This is an absolute must to weigh out your coffee and to get your yield. One of the first scales that I got was a kitchen scale. Not that great, not that precise, slow response time. You can get some really good coffee scales for about $50 to $60 Canadian USD. I've reviewed some often what I see this auto tare function, which personally I just find is not useful because I find it more complicated to use that. Sometimes you accidentally knock things and it registers as a time to tare when you're not actually trying to tare. And it's really not that difficult to just tare on your own. What you do need is a coffee scale, precise up to 0.1 grams, a stopwatch function with a fast response time, good battery life, good enough waterproofing, maybe like IP65 and up because coffee and water may splash on there. Easy to read display because there's so many no-name brands online and those may actually be okay. So look at the reviews. A good quality coffee scale is actually not that expensive, going with a reputable brand where the company is focused entirely on creating coffee products and doing it well. There's Ikape, Time More, I have discount codes for those. MHW3 Bomber, different sizes you can consider, like this one's a mini scale, then you can go for a bigger one. For me, this is perfect because I don't have a big cup. I have a 6-ounce coffee cup that sits on here and is tapered at the bottom so I can still see the LED screen. You can upgrade to a Bluetooth version like this. Done a full review on this one. It's the Buku Mini Femis. They also have a ultra bigger version as well now. So if you have a bigger cup, I think the features are slightly improved, but I'm very happy with this one still. I like its small size, its small portability factor. It's got the Bluetooth functionality, but it's so much cheaper than the Ikape coffee scales. This is absolutely more of an optional. This one has things like flow rate up to 0.1 grams per second accurate, displayed on the coffee scale in real time. But they also have an app to see the flow rate in a chart, in a graph. You can also connect it to other apps like Bean Conqueror that works with many Bluetooth devices, so you can connect different brands to that if they're compatible. Buku sells this espresso monitor that goes inside of your espresso machine, connects to the Bluetooth. You can see real-time pressure, so if you want to do pressure profiling, this is at your group head and you can measure that. I can't do that on mine because I have a Breville dual boiler. It's not an E61 group head. Some of my viewers mentioned that you could modify to be able to connect that to. I've not gotten around to it. It might be something that I do this year. Let's weigh out our coffee. Something else that could be optional would be some sort of dosing cup. You can easily find this for like maybe 20 bucks. My Weber Workshop's key, for example, came with this little metal cup to dose, but I don't like this other grinder, which is the Time More 078S, which I've also done a full review on. I could technically dose with this catch cup that comes with it, but I don't particularly like the catch cup. I changed to this. I find that this just makes it a lot easier to be able to pour in my coffee. Something else that you may need that's optional, RDT Ross droplet technique. If you have a lot of clumping in your coffee, especially when like it's super low humidity and you're going dark roast, and maybe your grinder is also making a lot of static, like there's many factors that could be involved. Where I live, where winter, and then you have the indoor heat, and then everything is so dry and your skin is so dry and the space is so dry, you'll probably need this. In the summer, I tend to not need this. The humidity is a lot higher, especially if I'm drinking light roast, which is usually what I'm drinking. I don't know how accurate this is, but it's about 28% humidity right now. This little person is not very happy about that. One of the important things to stress with espresso is that every single step that you do adds up to have a good and even puck for extraction. Clumping is something we want to avoid. and this may help. An RDT spray is not too expensive. This one came with my Weber Workshop's key. Getting a spray bottle that is specifically meant for RDT actually does make a difference. The mist is very, very fine and wide versus a regular spray bottle. This is a bottle that I repurposed from another product. It is somewhat of a fine mist, but it shoots out a little bit too strong, bigger droplets on my coffee grounds. Spray it on your coffee. Maybe once, maybe twice. Give it a little bit of a shake. You just want a little bit of moisture introduced in there, but not to the point that your beans are saturated with droplets in some parts and others not. A little bit of humidity during your grinding phase. A blind shaker, which is, of course, optional. I don't like the catch cup that came with the TIMOR 078S, so I bought this. This one also had less static than the TIMOR 078S. There's also a little cover so that you can in fact shake to help even the clumping. Now we're ready to grind with the dosing cup. A bit easier to get everything in there, especially if I have a tight space at the top. There's a little piece on the inside that you would remove. You can just lift up the little middle piece, do a little swirl. All of the coffee goes down pretty evenly. Push down here and give it a little swirl so I can try to distribute everything in there as evenly as possible. Everything adds up at every stage. This is pretty much a must. Something to hold your portafilter, some sort of tamping station. A lot easier for me now to tamp, especially if you have a spouted portafilter so the bottom is not flat. I've gone through various versions of this. I had a matte, then I had a wooden portafilter holder that could hold one tamper, but then I expanded my collection of gear, so I sold that and just got this singular holder. Optional, but probably a must, a dosing ring. This will help if you want to grind directly into the basket from your grinder and not make a mess. If you're going to WDT, this will keep everything in. It'll contain the mess. But not all dosing rings are created equal. I made some mistakes early on where I bought the wrong ones. There's a couple of things that I would suggest that you look for. Magnets are always good. That way it just sticks on nicely. It's not necessarily strong enough that I can lift the entire thing, but it's strong enough that it stays pretty put. Well manufactured. I have another dosing ring and the magnets stick out. Creates a problem because now this outer edge where the magnets are does not sit flush on the basket. Coffee grinds can get in between the portafilter and the dosing ring, losing some of your coffee, and you're making a mess, which is the opposite of the purpose of having a dosing ring. The other thing that you have to consider is one that sits on the edge of your basket. Some of the cheaper dosing rings will sit on the inside of your basket. And that's not good because you've affected the coffee bed. And when you tamp and you create your compressed puck, now that's a weak spot because there's actually less coffee around the ring. Go with a good reputable brand and that should avoid any issues. They're not that expensive. If you've been thinking about starting your own YouTube channel to talk about gear that you're passionate about and don't know where to start, I have a small hands-on mentorship program where I'll help you launch your channel and your videos without burning out, realistic expectations, healthy mindset, and focusing on progress over perfection. Info about that is in my description or link in my bio. There's still a bit of clumping that I can see because it's just that darn dry. WDT tool is the Weiss distribution technique, distributing a little bit more evenly and also help to declump. There's so many different WDT tools. Two different options that I'm gonna show for the manual one. And then we have one that's a little bit more easy to use and more consistent, but you can see it's a little bit bigger as well. You want really thin needles. One of my early espresso tools, it was a thicker needle, and at the end there was a ring, not scratch the bottom of your portafilter, which apparently is not really a problem with these little needles. And it was too thick. It actually would introduce a new issue where it created weak points anywhere I would swirl because it was disturbing the coffee bed a little bit too much. So don't get any of those kinds of tools. The important thing is that you want thin needles. There's different quantities. This is the Normcore WDT. It comes with a little stand. It also has a little magnetic top. It came with two needle size options, 0.25 and 0.3 millimeters. I've seen different things when it comes to the needle sizes, 0.25, 0.3, 0.4, which is why I think a lot of these brands offer more than one size. I don't know what the final consensus is in terms of like which one is better. I feel like I keep reading different things, but essentially if you go for any of those sizes, you should be okay. I just go middle ground and I go with the 0.3. This one is not too expensive. This is like 33 USD dollars. The manual one does require a little bit more technique. Generally a little concentric circle swirl from the bottom, and then I'm slowly going up, kind of like a tornado towards the very top, and then lift off. I do a little bit of a tap, tap, remove this, and then we're ready for tamping. Now the other option is something that has like more of a planetary pattern. You probably saw the Moonraker from Web Workshops, which is ridiculously gorgeous. I wish I could have one. Although I wouldn't say it's perfect because I think you have to adjust the length by cutting the needles. A few different iterations of this, and I actually wanted specifically this one from Ikape. You can adjust the depth of the needles depending on your basket depth. Magnets all around the side. You wouldn't need a dosing ring with this specific one. And I would go at a medium speed, so it's like not super fast that you're like swirling the coffee everywhere. I generally just go 1, 2, 3. They have 9 different needles, 0.25 size. The spirographic pattern avoids needles crossing the same path, resulting in more even particle distribution. Additional replacement needles if ever you damage yours. Before removing it, I just do a light tap to just make sure everything goes in and is not on the edge and can accidentally fall off. So this is a little bit more of an expensive tool. It's only about 20 bucks USD more with my discount code. So if you want less hands-on, less having to develop a technique, more consistency because you're removing the human error of manual work, something like this is something to consider. Are either of these tools perfect? No, sometimes I still have a little bit of clumping. So if I use this and I use this and I'm shaking, it's very unlikely I'm gonna get any kind of clump or any clump that's significant, which will impact my puck and affect my extraction. A distributor. This is an item that you can skip, in my opinion. I had one on one of my original tools. That was a 2-in-1 tamper and distributor. Some people really like using it, mainly distributing the top surface of where you're spinning. Everything's nice and even, everything is declumped. We're ready to compress the puck. Now we're going into tampers. So many options for tampers. I would say that there's like 2 formats of tampers. There's the palm one, which is a little bit of a flatter like a puck, and then you have ones that look like this, that you can either push down and adjust the depth. I've seen spring adjusted ones. You have some that are static that are just like one piece. You have to have technique. You need to level it as you push down, go with the right force. The important thing when you're getting a tamper is to make sure that the size of this is almost exactly the same size as your basket. Sometimes it could be 58, 58.35, 58.5. If you're unsure, I would suggest that you take a caliper and you measure different parts of your basket to see what size it is, because the fit is very important. You want a tight fit. If you don't have a tight fit, some parts of your coffee bed will not be compressed. And now you've created say it with me, a weak point. Channeling can happen for many reasons, but one of the reasons is the weak spots, because water just wants to flow. It'll go, this spot is a lot easier for me to go through. And now you're gonna have uneven extraction. My personal preference is I wanna remove as many variables as possible. Having a self-leveling tamper is gonna be important. And it sounds a lot fancier than it has to be, and sometimes they won't use that term. Essentially what you're looking for is a tamper that has a rim on the outside, this outer edge, that will sit on the outside of your basket, so that when you push the inside part, it pushes down straight. So you don't need to figure out if it's straight and pushed down like you would with a solid piece one. Tampers that have self-leveling options, some sort of spring in it. Before these two, I had just a simple one. It had a spring, so I would just push down and then the spring would just lift it back up so it's back in its neutral position. You could adjust depth, but that was really not that useful to me. Because the depth of your compressed puck can vary with different coffee, there's this graph from Barista Hustle. Hit a threshold for the tamping pressure, you don't really get much more improvement or more compressed puck after that. If you're putting your whole body weight on it, you are probably pressing too hard. You just need to push hard enough. The window for what's good for pressure is pretty large. If you want to add more consistency, you can get an impact tamper, which is something like the force tamper. It's kind of an end game tamper for me. Spring loaded. It will only release the tamper base when the spring reaches the calibrated force pressure applied on it. This one's adjustable to 20 to 40 pounds. So I usually hold it here just to make sure it doesn't wobble when I push it. And then there's an audible click. And then you have a nice, beautiful, compressed puck, very even. No rings on the outside because it's a very good tight fit. You'll also notice that this one has a flat base. Sometimes there's different shapes to them, ridges, and I've just stuck with flat. One of the downsides with this, little bit of the grinds can go up and fly into here. You'll have to empty out the coffee that goes in between here. Not a big deal, but just something to consider. Some people have also mentioned that this is not necessarily that great because of that punching effect. It could create micro fissures in your puck, which would be weak points for channeling. If that's the case, I personally haven't noticed it enough for it to be an issue. I like the consistency, I like the workflow, I like the ease. I'm hoping that helps clarify a little bit some of the tools that you need and what to look for when getting some tools. And it'll depend so much on your gear, your coffee beans, the humidity. For example, my Weber Workshops key grinder, I actually had a little bit less tools because Weber Workshops key has the magic tumbler, so I didn't need this. It already came with one basically. I also didn't really have much of a need for a WDT because I was going with light roast. It also has this thin wiper on the inside that as you're grinding, it helps to declump, which was honestly very effective. And of course, a lot of this is preference-based. Do you like more manual tools? Do you like more automated tools? The materials, if you want to or need to improve your workflow, budget. Chime in with some of your musts, what you learned, your takeaways from this video, and stay tuned for part 2, where we'll cover all of the espresso tools that you need during and after extraction. And if you want to see all of this in action, you can check out my coffee bar routine video right here, or the algorithm gods have decided that this video is something that may interest you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.